dropout and co-founder of a Silicon Valley startup, and he even lived on a sailboat for a year. So, let's find out who that man is. Some of you have already met. He's one of our chief mentors. Ladies and gentlemen, here on the stage we have Eliah Murray.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me? Yes? Alright, so we're still having clicker issues. But that being said, I want to jump right in, talk about product market fit. But first, why should you even listen to me, right? So we're all here. There are a lot of different people out there. There are people on YouTube. There are people that you'll meet in person, mentors. But why should you even listen to me? So as Harold gave, thank you very much. I've done this a lot. I taught myself to program because I wanted to start building products. I lived on a sailboat for a year because it was cheaper, so I could keep teaching myself how to program and keep building products. I moved to Silicon Valley, I raised a lot of money, I did the whole Silicon Valley startup dream, and now, as Harold mentioned, I co-founded Matter. And Matter is a product studio where we do two things. So first, as he mentioned, we work with large corporations and also early stage entrepreneurs like yourselves to help innovate, help pull forward ideas, do product market fit, and actually validate your ideas and then bring them to the market. But we love building products so much that all the profit and all the money that we make while working with clients, we then invest in ourselves to incubate our own ideas. So this is something that I've perpetually been doing for my entire life. I'm obsessed with building products. And so I'm happy to be here today to talk with all of you and hopefully share some of that information and help you guys figure out how to find product market fit that you can take to your ideas. So first, step back. We'll get into product market fit, but what is an idea and how much does it actually matter when you're building a company? And your idea actually doesn't matter that much. So everyone thinks I have $1 billion idea, Uber's $1 billion idea. If I just have this one idea, then I'll be a successful entrepreneur. But actually it's the execution that matters way, way, way more than the idea. And so this is an example. Sivers is an author and entrepreneur. He actually sold his company to iTunes way back when. And his idea and his hypothesis is that an idea is a multiplier. So if you have the best idea in the world with shitty execution, your idea is not going to be worth that much. But if you have a so-so idea, or maybe even just a good idea, but you kill it, you get out there and you kill it, and you do everything possible to execute on your idea, then you will create a good business. And so it's important to remember this when you're talking about product market fit, because everyone has ideas, right? And we might think we need that $1 billion idea, but it really comes down to how you go about executing on your vision and on your business more so than the idea. So this is perfect for when we're talking about product market fit, because that's the first step. The first step of execution is product market fit. So what are you going to build? And without doing this process, without going through product market fit and really evaluating, does this idea fit within the marketplace, then you can't move forward. It's a pyramid, and if you don't have your foundation stable, then everything else will collapse. If you have an idea, you go out there, you take it, you turn it into a product, and no one wants it, you'll have a really cool product and no business. And that's not what we're about. We're trying to build businesses, not just build products, build businesses. So you need this solid foundation. And then from here, you build everything else on top of this. So this stage, as Ibrahim mentioned, the foundation of getting the validation around your idea, and that squiggly path of trial and error and going out and getting customers and customers saying, I don't want this, or I like this part, or maybe focus on this area, that is what is so crucial and will set you up to continue to execute well throughout the entire life of your business. So this phase that you guys are doing right now, you might be excited about the idea, you might want to go and just build or write code. I've talked to a lot of you and you want to build a prototype or build a website or do something. The first step you need to do is you have to validate your idea. You have to validate your idea. So, how do we go about doing this? Well, by doing this step, you get to fail extremely cheaply. You don't write code, you don't have to go hire people, you don't have to spend money on marketing. You go talk to people. And if people say, don't like it, that's pretty cheap, right? That's pretty cheap feedback. It's very high reward, very low risk. The risk is someone telling you that they don't like your idea and maybe feel a little hurt. If you don't do this early on, people spend millions of dollars trying to build a product and then find out when they go to market that no one wants it. So would you rather fail when you actually invest all this money, you go raise money, you go out to customers and say, hey, I have this brand new feature, come use my product. And you're like, it's okay. Or you can walk outside, you can talk to people in this room, you can call friends, you can post on Facebook, you can do online surveys, and you can get feedback now when it's just an idea and you haven't spent any other time on it. So make sure that you validate early. Make sure you continue to validate as you progress. It's a hypothesis. You need to constantly be testing your hypothesis with real people that ultimately will be your customers. And in my current work, I work with entrepreneurs all the time. And everyone has great ideas. They all come to me, they have great ideas. And the very first thing that we end up talking to them about is don't worry about the idea. Don't keep adding new features. What you need to do is go get customers. You need to validate your idea. And they try to give us more money and we say no, please go get customers first. And then we can build more features. And when your customers say, hey, I want this new feature, or I want this, or I want that, then you can go build it. But first you need to validate what you're doing. Okay, so we've talked all around product market fit. What is it actually? Product market fit is you identifying users, maybe customers, we'll talk about that, but users that have a need, desire, or want for your product. And the ability to pay is an important concept, and Silicon Valley has kind of upended this model where you can actually just go get users and not worry about making money for years and years, offset by venture capitalism and investment. But you do need to remember that if you want to build a business at some point, in some way, you will have to make money. So it's fine to go get users. It's fine to lose money as you grow, provided you have investment. And that's an okay structure. But at some point, you will need to get money. And so you do need to think about where that's going to come from. Is it going to come directly from your customers? Or are you going to sell your data to third parties? Or are you going to get grant money? How are you going to end up making money? So when you're identifying your product market fit, you need to take all this into consideration. And if any of these boxes aren't checked, if your users do not want what you're selling, you do not have product market fit. Even if you think it's a really cool idea, you don't have product market fit, and you need to iterate until you're able to get to that point. Okay, so this isn't necessarily about coming up with ideas. I already talked a little bit about how, while ideas do matter, it's execution that ultimately matters when you're building this business. And so first, as you identify your problem, you have a hypothesis. Your hypothesis is that in this area, or this audience, or this industry, this issue is painful. This causes pain to a population. Now, I think I can solve this with my solution. And that's it, right? It's a hypothesis. So you have no testing, you have no validation, you don't know if what you have come up with is true. So first you need to figure out who your market is, right? Who actually is going to buy this? What's the audience? What are their demographics, age, gender, location? There are tons of different areas that you can slice and dice your audience, get really specific, get really niche, or you can try to stay broad and figure out where you resonate. And to do this, one tool that you can use is user personas. You can map out who do you think your users are. So maybe you think it's a young person that's a college student. Maybe you think it's a person that's in corporate America that's frustrated by their long commute and sitting in traffic. But start thinking about who your user is so that then you can try and go validate and talk to those people directly. Then you need to figure out, who are you? Who's your identity as a company? Do you want to be the most expensive, creme de la creme, the fancy one in the industry? Or do you want to be the cheap option that's available for everyone? A good example of kind of the contrast between these two is where Uber originally started out and where Lyft started out. Same product, very different brands. Uber was elite, Uber was exclusive, black cars, had the elite lifestyle for everyone. Whereas Lyft was friendly, it was open, and it was much more of a laid-back atmosphere. Both of those work, but they address different audiences, and they target different user personas. And lastly, there are things that could kill your idea. We already talked a little bit about making sure you can make money within your industry, but other things are, when you're going after large enterprises, big businesses, generally speaking, they want to see established track records. So that means maybe 3 years of financials, or you already have a lot of customers, or you've already worked with a big company. And so if your idea is to go specifically to big enterprises to start, then you might want to pause, reflect, and think about, can we focus on smaller companies first? Is there a different way in which we can approach this? Maybe it's a partnership, maybe it's incubating through a pre-existing incubator with a large company. Additionally, if it's super capital intensive, I'm looking at hardware teams right now, if it's super capital intensive, you need to think about how can we iterate and test our idea quickly and cheaply without having to sink a ton of money in just to get some feedback. Market saturation. If you're entering into a space where there are a ton of products that already exist that address that need, it's not to say you can't do it, but you do need to be aware that this is additional barriers to entry. It's tougher to enter into a busy and noisy space if you're not having a unique enough position. And that's where positioning comes into play. If you can stand alone and you can make yourself have a voice in a busy marketplace, great, it works. But you do need to be aware of this. And lastly, competition. So a lot of people think competition is bad. Competition is a reason to not enter in a space. Someone's already done it. Why should I do it? That's not always the case. Competition actually can help you validate a market. You can point to it and say, hey, someone's already doing this. I'm going to do it better. So don't be afraid of competition. Competition means that there's already demand for the market. Someone's already pre-validated your industry. There's already product market fit. Now you need to jump in there and carve out your space. So it will be harder, but it means that part of your job has already been done for you. All right, validation. We've talked about this. Everyone wants to feel good. Everyone wants to be validated. So go get validation. If you go and get a user or a paying customer today, I promise you that will feel way better than doing anything else. The minute you get someone who says, yeah, I kind of like your idea, here's $5. The minute you get that transaction of money, it will be such good motivation. And furthermore, it means that they like your idea. You have product market fit. At least one person wanted to buy what you're selling. That's real validation. People answering a survey on Facebook is useful, or talking to a friend and saying, here's my idea, would you use it? And say, yeah, sure. That's useful, but if you can get a paying customer or someone to sign up as a pre-launch, that's way more valuable. These users will help define what your product should be. You come up with an idea, you think you know the answer, you think you have the solution, and they might say, well, that's a problem, but what I'd really like to see is this. So listen to your users, listen to these people, because they're the ones that are going to define your business, not you. Your job is to address their needs and address their problems. Your job is to push it forward, to innovate. But their job is to give you feedback that you then implement so that you're addressing their needs always. And as I mentioned, don't be afraid of competition. Competition you can steal from. Competition you can see where they're failing and do it better. It helps you validate the market already. So as I mentioned, get people to commit as much as possible, as quickly as possible. So this means different things for different products. It could be pre-sales, email signups, getting phone numbers, getting people that say that they will buy it once it's launched, trying to get cash ahead of time, and people promising that, yeah, I'll pre-sign up to get it at a discount similar to Kickstarter. Whatever you can do to go get real people to say yes to your business now, that is validation. That is true validation, and that means you have a real business. Lastly, we're building businesses here. If we were building products, it'd probably be a lot more fun because you don't have to worry about money. You don't have to worry about actually convincing people to part with hard-earned cash. But we're not just building products. You're trying to build a business, and for a business to work, it has to actually exchange value between you and a customer. So beware of building a cool product. Cool products die. Tons of people have built wickedly cool products thinking that if I build it, they will come. They invest a lot of money, they build it, people don't come, it's dead. Also, many people don't like to say no. So if you walk up to someone and say, hey, would you use my product if I built it? They say, yeah, sure, yeah, no problem. But then you go build it and you say, hey, I have it. And they're like, well, that was then, I don't actually want to buy it right now. So be careful when you do get feedback. Feedback is important, but try to ask open-ended questions or say, hey, will you put money down now for it to get real valid feedback as quickly as possible. And then also, pricing is important. Again, not everyone's gonna have a price model, but you need to think about, if your market is small, you need to make a lot of money per sale, per unit, for whatever you're doing. Or if you have a massive market, you could charge $2 for an app, and that's okay. But you need to think about how your pricing fits into your business. Because if the pricing doesn't work, and the unit economics don't work, you'll build a cool product that has a few sales, and it's not a business. Additional things to remember. A business is creating value. That's what you need to do. If I'm a business, and I sell ice cream, that means you value what I'm selling, so you're gonna give me your hard-earned money for ice cream. You're exchanging value. And that's what a business ultimately does. So if you create value for other people, and they want it, that's a business. You also don't always have to innovate. Everyone thinks, oh, I need to invent a new X, Y, and Z. I need to go be in Silicon Valley. I need to have a patent. I need to do all these things, and then I'm an entrepreneur. But often it's taking something that already exists and shifting the perspective, selling it in a slightly new light, doing it slightly differently, and having a better voice, a better message to your audience and to your customers. So you don't have to innovate. And lastly, just get scrappy. Go out there and start doing. You don't necessarily need to code. You don't need a website or a landing page. You don't need a Facebook page. You don't need social media. You need to go out there and figure out how you can create value for real people as quickly as possible, and then go do it. If people like what you're doing, then worry about the technology. Then worry about scaling. But go find customer number 1, customer number 5, customer number 10 as quickly as possible, and then start thinking about how you can scale it up. So that's the slide, that's the presentation, but I want to take a moment and see if any of you guys are struggling with product market fit, and if you have any particular questions around how you could validate your product quickly, and how you can get out there and start getting customers today. 4 questions in general.
Can we have the hand mic?
It's not okay.
Hi.
Thank you for the talk. It was very interesting. What I want to ask is, what is the main difference between customer validation from B2B or B2C? What are the main differences?
Yeah, so for B2C is generally you can actually have a transaction. You can get people to give you their email address, their phone number, or money. And for everyone, I don't know if you've heard, but what's the main differences for customer validation for B2C versus B2B? And so for B2C, go get the customer to actually give you something. And that could be a sign up, that could be a phone number, that could be a pre-commitment, that could be a verbal commitment, or ideally pre-purchase in some capacity. For B2B, it's generally a little more different Businesses are busy. They're making money. They're doing something, whether it's a small business or a large business. And so you need to have something that grabs their attention. And so maybe that's a sample report, or maybe that's you have a couple initial prototypes that could create value. But trying to get their attention is much more difficult. But once you are able to have enough value to grab their attention, then it's about getting, again, more commitment. So maybe it's a letter of intent. Maybe it's an email from someone saying, once you reach a certain stage, we would be happy to sign up. And so it's, again, trying to get as much commitment as you can with whatever product or prototype you're working on. On your left.
Would you ever approach family or friends to sell your
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's
Yes.
no risk with confirmation bias at all.
There is, but you will get money, right? So if you get money from friends and family, that's their customers. So you need to do it. You do need to expand from them at some point. But if you can go convince one of your friends to actually give you $10, that's pretty exciting, and that helps you get the ball rolling.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, get money from anyone you can.
Hello, good talk. I'm thinking about the B2B side. So for day 13, I think we have to have 500 signups. I'm thinking it's way more easy to get customers than businesses to sign up. We still need to get 500 if we have a business side.
That's a question for someone other than me.
Yeah, okay.
But I think overall, you need to try and get as much validation as you can,
Yeah.
and that will help. So I think if you start going down that path, you will learn things. You'll learn, okay, well, what is reasonable? What if we got 10 businesses to actually sign up and send letters of intent? To me, that would be a very impressive metric.
Yeah, that's what I think as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. So if my user is someplace where they don't have technology, they might not have a phone or internet, how do I talk to them about the service that I want to offer them? Because they're my user, but not necessarily my customer. So if I'm trying to get water to them, for example, and they struggle every day to get fresh, clean, safe water, how should I approach contacting them in the next few days?
It's a great question. So there's no means of contact with them? I would say, so it sounds like it's something, you said bringing clean water to those who do not have it, correct?
Yes.
So I'd probably go through NGOs, non-government organizations, that do have contact with them, that can speak as a representative of them, and then maybe those are the people, the users, the organizations that you need to actually get on board, since they might be the ones actually doing the fulfillment in some capacity. Figure out who the stakeholder is, and then get them involved and committed.
Thanks.
Good question. We got one back here, and then I already have you in my group. So, all right, we'll circle back later.
So I have a quick question about in what kind of point you will understand that, all right, now validation is really working?
So at what point are you like, I did it? Am I validated?
Yeah, like now we can do a product, like now we can do a technology and so on.
It's a subjective thing. There's no definitive answer, but as you start seeing trends, so if you get one customer that says yes, then cool, you got some validation. If you get 10 that agree, then that's even more validation. If you can see that, okay, well, these 30 people signed up, or maybe it's 100, maybe it's 5, right? So the number varies depending on the business and the product. But if you can see that, okay, this is a repeatable process, this is a repeatable user, I can go find these people on Instagram or at small businesses, or this is what my pitch looks like to them. So once you're able to kind of see that there is a trend, and it's not just friends and family, that's when I would say, okay, you're onto something. Let's try to actually deliver in some of that value. We have time for more?
So, thank you very much for the presentation. So, in an event like this, how many questions or how many feedbacks you think are really nice to have for customer validation? Like 100, 200, 50?
The more the better. As to the lady's question before, for B2B, it's different, right? For something that's going through NGOs to users or end users that you can't directly contact, the number might be different. So it really does depend on your specific business for how much feedback you need. But again, if you're able to see a pattern, and you're able to say, okay, well, we've talked to 100 people and 30 of them said yes, and they're all kind of in this area, you have a repeatable process that you can scale.
Thank you very much.
That's time. If you guys have any questions, you can DM me, Facebook me, Snapchat, Instagram, something me, and I'm around. So thank you very much.